Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter.
Present.
DeLong.
Decidedly present.
De Silva. Here. Edgeworth. Flanagan. Here. Gallant. Here. Golding. Here. Gurr. Here. Hunt. Here. Jackson. Karras. Kasama. Wynn.
Here.
Oh, sorry. Wynn. Here. Chair Considine.
I am here, and please record Assemblymember Jackson as present when they arrive. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. I would like to start with a few housekeeping measures. Please check and silence any electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When you are testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday for committee members. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. I encourage committee members to ask questions, engage with the material presented. If you do have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, we can get started. Today, we are going to hear a presentation followed by two bills. First, we will hear a presentation from the Purchasing Division within the Department of Administration. Next, we will hear Assembly Bill 336, which revises provisions relating to state purchasing, followed by Assembly Bill 213, which revises provisions governing public works projects. To ensure that we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner, we will set a 20-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. To ensure that we allow as many people as possible to testify, feel free to say ditto if someone else has already covered your testimony. Before we begin the presentation, though, we do have a BDR introduction. We will introduce BDR number S399, which revises provisions relating to peace officers. Remember, voting in favor of introducing a BDR does not imply a commitment to supporting the measure later. All this action does is to allow the BDR to become a bill and enter the legislative process. I will entertain a motion to introduce BDR S399. Assemblymember and Vice Chair Wynn made the motion, and the second was made by Assemblymember DeLong. Seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion carries. Thank you. First, this morning we will have representatives from the Purchasing Division who will provide a brief overview of the division. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. My name is Gideon Davis, Gideon Davis, and I am the Administrator of the Purchasing Division of the Department of Administration for the state of Nevada.
Good morning. I'm General Counsel for the Nevada State Purchasing Division of the Department of Administration. My name is Homa Sayar, Homa, last name Sayyar. Thanks.
Is that shared? Perfect. Okay. We're here today to give a brief introduction of the Purchasing Division and what the Purchasing Division does for state agencies here in Nevada as a kind of primer for AB 336 that is coming after this. And so, as the administrator of the Purchasing Division, I oversee goods and services procurement for the state of Nevada. Goods and services basically means everything that is not construction. The Public Works Division is responsible for vertical construction. INDOT is responsible for horizontal construction, and the Purchasing Division is responsible for everything else. And so everything from the software running on computers to the vehicles that state employees drive, to the gravel they use in the constructions at INDOT, to multi-million-dollar software projects, the Purchasing Division is responsible for the procurement of all of those different types of goods and services. Within the Purchasing Division, we have three units. In addition to our leadership, we have a procurement unit who oversees our day-to-day purchasing, running actual solicitations. We have our central contracts unit who provides customer support to agencies for purchasing that agencies do. And then we have our operations unit who provides customer support related to our software systems and assists with our internal operations, and provides for the state surplus and excess property program, where when an agency is finished with a particular piece of property, goods, or services, if it has any useful life, we assist the agency in finding a new home for it with another state agency, local government entity, nonprofit entity, or possibly sale to the public. The purchasing division exists to create a level of separation between those who run programmatic state agencies and the vendors that we do business with, to ensure that the process itself is protected. Because as a government entity, or government entities collectively, the executive branch of state government has a duty to protect the public fisc and ensure that when we are procuring goods and services, we are doing so transparently, competitively, and fairly whenever possible. We do that in accordance with the Nevada State Purchasing Act, which is NRS 333, and purchasing generally, which is NRS 334. From those, NAC 333 further clarifies the administrative procedures of the division and the procedures that agencies must follow for their procurement of goods and services. And then the state administrative manual provides policies and processes for those. State purchasing is very much a customer service agency in that the work that we do supports the work of every other agency in the state. We are funded for this purpose through administrative fees against the statewide contracts that we procure for all customers, as well as through charges to the agencies who use our services. The main role that we serve is as a customer service role. The purchasing division supports other agencies in their buying way more than we do our own buying. Within our own office, we buy computers and office supplies, and that's kind of about it. For every other agency, it varies day to day. The role of purchasing within that process is to protect the process itself, to make sure that the outcome is defensible and successful. We are trying to create contracts and projects that accomplish the goal that the legislation and the funding sets that agency out to accomplish. And we do that often through competitive procurement, where multiple vendors bid on a solicitation. The purchasing division operates an electronic procurement system, which is called Nevada ePro, Nevada-EPRO, and it's located at nevadaepro.com. That is our public procurement site where every solicitation that the state of Nevada produces for goods or services that has a value over $25,000 is publicly posted on nevadaepro.com, where vendors can see what the state is attempting to buy and can respond to that solicitation if they are interested in doing so. The purchasing division is responsible for facilitating those solicitations ourselves if the value is over $100,000, and for assisting the agency in having the internal controls and trained staff to run those solicitations in-house, again through our procurement system, for those projects that are under that $100,000 threshold that are somewhat lower risk. During the vendor selection process, the purchasing division is responsible for maintaining an equal and fair playing field for the vendors to ensure that the state is getting best value in our purchases. When we are buying goods, best value generally means lowest price. If all we are buying is a box of hammers, we can very easily compare the requirements of whether we need ball peen hammers or sledgehammers or other requirements necessary for that solicitation, and then provide the vendors the requirements, they can bid, and we can award based off low price. When the state is soliciting for services, we are generally conducting what is called a request for proposals, where we are soliciting on criteria, other listed criteria, in addition to price. And so the state has the ability and has the legal requirement to publish in our solicitation what criteria we will be using to make that decision, and then has a legal duty to do what we said we were going to do and evaluate the proposals fairly and equally based off the criteria that were presented in the RFP. In the event the state does not fulfill its requirements, in soliciting fairly and equally. Vendors do have the right to appeal our decision, and that decision is appealable to the State Hearings Division following the normal administrative process for hearings here in Nevada. And so as part of that vendor selection process, vendors are either being awarded based off low price or are being awarded based off the highest score from the evaluation scoring that are scored by the individual evaluators. The bill that we'll be talking about today, AB 336, addresses when additional points or preferences can be awarded to particular vendors for particular purposes, or currently in the law, when a reciprocal preference or a punishment can be provided to particular vendors as part of that evaluation process. The other main thing that the Purchasing Division does is train. We run trainings for every level of government in the state of Nevada. The Purchasing Division trains, obviously, our own staff, but we also train state agency staff, local government staff, attorney general staff, legislative council auditors, executive branch auditors, and basically anyone who is interested in learning more about the procurement process. The Purchasing Division provides regular and ongoing training to those folks, including a 2-day class called the Certified Contract Manager course that anyone who is going to oversee contracts is responsible for taking as part of their job responsibilities, but also many additional topic-specific classes throughout the year. The Purchasing Division also provides the vast majority of the forms, templates, and instructions that agencies use when conducting formal solicitations, awarding contracts, amending contracts, or requesting permission to other agencies related to those processes. The Purchasing Division's main goal is to assist agencies. And so we do that primarily through assisting them with procurement. And so with basically any bill that is before you that has funding attached, unless that funding is for staff, that funding is likely for something that has to be procured, and the Purchasing Division will likely help with that. And so it is our goal in everything we do to create a process that is fair, transparent, and creates value for the state of Nevada in the way that we solicit for goods and services. That ends my presentation, and with that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Our first question is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. When it comes to the contracting of consulting services, are all consulting services, including expert attorney work that's requested by an agency, is that done through you or is that done separately?
There is consulting work is a fairly, Gideon Davis for the record, Chair through you to to the Assemblyman.
You may go direct.
Thank you. Assemblyperson, to answer your question, no, there are lots of professional services that are not competitively procured. Consulting services is a broad category, but generally consulting services fits within the larger services of independent contractor, with which a contract approved by the Board of Examiners, which is the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and the Governor, is required before services are rendered. But no, not every one of those contracts requires competitive solicitation. NAC 333150, which is within the administrative code, lays out 5 specific categories where the state has identified that formal competition is not necessarily the best way of soliciting. Some of that is because of other statutes. Those 5 things are an expert witness, an architect, an engineer, an accountant, and an attorney. Obviously, expert witness, the expert witness becomes an expert when sworn in by the judge as such. The other 4 are professionally licensed jobs here in the state of Nevada that have a licensing board. For the architects and engineers specifically, the law within the engineering board has language that says the state cannot use cost for the purpose of evaluating when selecting an architect or engineer. And so NAC 333150 flows from that and encourages agencies to do informal competition, but that, because it is not a formal process, is not run by the Purchasing Division. The same is true for attorneys and accountants. However, for attorneys, there is specific language within the Attorney General's law that says when the state is hiring an attorney as part of a contingency fee lawsuit, that has to be done through a request for proposals. And so the Attorney General's office has run requests for proposals for that purpose through the state's procurement system in the past.
Thank you very much for putting that on the record. Thank you, Chair.
I do have a couple of questions. Can you tell me the size of the staff of your division, and also if you have how many openings, or are you fully staffed?
Gideon Davis, for the record, the purchasing division has a total of 30 staff. We are fully staffed currently. That 30 staff includes 10 purchasing officers who conduct solicitations, and then the rest are administrative staff in other areas. That also includes our property staff, which run warehouses in Carson City, Reno, and Las Vegas. That is a 3-person staff plus 1 person who's currently on military leave and stationed in Kuwait.
Thank you. And then it's just a question that I've become interested in. Are all of your staff members, all of your FTE still under your division, or any of your staff members being used in another division or another unit?
Currently, all of the purchasing division staff are operating within the purchasing division. 29 of those staff are here in Carson City, including the vast majority of them at our offices on East Musser Street. 2 of those staff work out of our warehouse, which is on Forest Way. And then we have 1 staff and a temporary employee currently in our Las Vegas warehouse, which is about 2 blocks from where they're sitting there in Las Vegas.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. And I would now like to, if you're ready, if you need to take a minute, go ahead. Open up the hearing on Assembly Bill 336, which revises provisions relating to state purchasing. Thank you for staying at the table, and go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Homa Sayar for the record, General Counsel for the Nevada State Purchasing Division. Assembly Bill 336 comes out of the interim committee on behalf of senior citizens, veterans, and adults with special needs. We had the privilege during the interim of being invited by then Chair Spearman to speak on a day themed around veterans and what Nevada was doing to support our veterans. They were asking about a law in the books that was meant to provide preference to veterans, Nevada veterans with a service-connected disability, and they wanted to hear how it was going, and we regrettably had to let them know that because of laws that followed the passage of that legislation, it had nullified the effect. And so what I'm going to do is walk through kind of bid preferences generally that Administrator Davis sort of alluded to relating to the vendor selection process, and then highlight what AB 336 is meant to do for that. So generally, bid preferences in the NRS are intended to provide certain advantages for bidder categories. For our purposes, it is to favor Nevada businesses, and then also to favor Nevada businesses run by a veteran with a service-connected disability. So we have NRS 333.3351 that has our Nevada-based preference, 333.3361 that relates to that veteran category, and then we have 333.33695 that creates an inverse preference, which actually affects negatively out-of-state businesses that are from states that have laws on their books that disadvantage Nevada businesses. And you'll see that that's very complicated and strange in terms of how it is implemented or not. So at the moment, for goods, this is more for your reference. I'm not going to read it. But the idea is that if you had 3 vendors and they were differently situated, one was a Nevada-based business, the other was a Nevada-based business with, owned by a veteran with a service-connected disability, and then we have an out-of-state business. So the way that the law works right now on goods is it creates an imaginary 5% reduction in price for the Nevada-based business and an imaginary 5% reduction in price for the Nevada veteran-owned business. You can kind of see the problem that all Nevada businesses now are on equal footing with someone who is a veteran with a service-connected disability, which was obviously something that happened through iterative legislation that didn't take in consideration the landscape that it was joining. And then finally, the vendor that comes from a state that has a preference for their own folks that negatively impacts Nevada actually has an imaginary 5% added to their cost, or actually to the extent that they have the preference. So say that state has a 10% preference for their own folks, we're supposed to increase their price by 10%. I mean, at the end of the day, all of these items may be $100, right? Everybody might be tied, and we're sort of shifting the order. So that's for goods. For services, as Administrator Davis mentioned, these are not just based on price. This is about value. This is about what those services look like, how they meet requirements, whether the bidder is responsive and responsible and able to perform. So in those situations, the preferences have a lot less of an effect because scores are meant to be differentiated by evaluators. We want evaluators deciding, who's the best among qualified applicants, and so often this 5% doesn't actually tip the scale in any particular direction, but it is considered similarly to the goods, except related to points versus dollar value. And then the inverse preference, as I alluded to, projects involving federal funding cannot use these preferences because it negatively impacts, interstate commerce. And so unless there's something that is provided for by federal law, we're not supposed to attach these preferences to our solicitations. So a lot of solicitations that the State Purchasing Division runs or that agencies run, if they're under the dollar threshold, aren't even allowed to use any of these preferences because of their federal funding source. And that also applies to solicitations that are run on a cooperative basis, so like other states' contracts that we join the solicitation of, again, because it has a negative impact on sort of that cooperation. And then many states have two kinds of penalties. Some have a penalty that says, okay, if Nevada has a preference, when Nevada shows up in our state, we're going to ding them for that. Others say if Nevada has an inverse preference, that's when we're going to actually penalize them. So you can see that for our growing Nevada businesses, if they start trying to do business with other government entities in other states, they are substantially disadvantaged compared to the individuals in those states, and that's a consideration. And I would note here, like for example, Nevada's GDP is on par with, for example, the city of Phoenix. So if you think about, the amount of business a Nevada-based business could do here with our government versus how much they could do as they expand and as they grow and can bring more jobs and dollars to the state, it's something to consider. So Assembly Bill 336 includes conforming reference changes throughout, so I won't walk through those. The statute remains the same for the Nevada-based business preference, but it is trying to address the fact that we have sort of taken all the teeth out of the opportunity for veterans with a service-connected disability in Nevada, and it proposes that we allow the preference to stack, because the law currently says if you get the 5% here, you can't also get the 5% there. We're proposing that it be a 10% benefit for the Nevada veteran service-connected disability business. And then it also eliminates the inverse preference, in part because of the difficulty of administering that preference, and then also because it does disadvantage Nevada-based businesses from growing and doing business out of state. So this is also for your reference. This slide is sort of the same concept as the prior one for goods, and indicates how sort of the gaps would change. In the same scenario, the vendor that is the Nevada-based veteran with a service-connected disability would be treated as if they had a 10% discount. So on a $100 item, it would now be considered as $90 and possibly prevail against a regular Nevada-based business at $95. And then the final vendor, either it would actually be just the $100. We wouldn't be dealing with sort of this calculation of, wait a minute, we have to go check that state's laws, we have to go through their 20 preferences or 30 preferences. Luckily, Nevada is very similar. Other states do it by good or by origin of good, or whether it's mined there or that sort of thing. And then for services, obviously, similarly to before, we're dealing with points and scoring, and so the scores would adjust and possibly widen the gap to benefit our veteran-owned businesses. So that concludes my presentation. I have some resources on the final slide if you would like to obviously explore more about the division and some of the resources we have, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation and that breakdown. That is really helpful. Our first question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Are you already collecting data on how many proposals and how many contracts are provided by businesses owned by veterans?
Yes, we're collecting that data, but the data as far as, I'm sorry, Gideon Davis, Purchasing Division. Yes, we are collecting the data related to what contracts are awarded to them. However, that data does not show that this preference made a difference in that award ever.
Follow-up? And what percentage of contracts are provided by veterans? And I think they're two separate things. One is the number of proposals that are coming in, and the other is how many win the bid. So two separate things, and what's the current number? I understand that it's not effective because you've just explained why it's not effective so far.
The total number of contracts that are awarded to veteran disabled companies is approximately 5 to 7%, depending on the, how you consider what the dollar value. I'm sorry. Thank you. Gideon Davis for the record. Depending on how you calculate the dollar value of a contract, because on a goods contract, we don't plan up front exactly how much we're going to spend. We use it as needed. And so there's an estimated value of the contract. And so the actual percentage depends on which numbers we're talking about. On contracts that are awarded, so regardless of how they're awarded, contracts that are executed, about 5% of those are for disabled veteran businesses. And so it's comparing it to proposing vendors is incredibly difficult because on some solicitations, like our direct client services projects, there are hundreds of proposers. And so, almost every vendor who is qualified receives a contract under that particular project type, and then the agency has choice when helping a client select a vendor. And so that, like the direct math of these people proposed versus this one got awarded is kind of skewed.
And if I may add, Homa Sayar for the record, the other thing is that a lot of this is self-reported, so we may actually have more contracts than that, but there's possibly no reason for that entity to disclose their status, either veteran status, because they're already getting the preference related to just being a Nevada-based business. So that would be something that they would have to, affirmatively disclose in our solicitation system.
Thanks for that clarification.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick clarifying question again. I know you kind of breezed through it real quick, but I think it's an essential element in understanding this bill, the inverse preference doctrine. So can you just go over that one more time again and explain how it works and how it could benefit Nevada companies? Thank you.
Homa Sayar for the record, thank you for the question. If you look at the legislative history for this preference, it actually went hand in hand with removing the inverse preference. So when this was first put on the books, they eliminated the inverse preference. In following sessions, they then added a Nevada-based preference, and then after that, they re-added the inverse preference. So the way the inverse preference works is that Nevada is giving a boost to our businesses, right, when they're proposing. And by definition, by giving them even just a boost, we are discounting or not actually, giving the same value to an out-of-state business. So over in their home state, they are similarly saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't like this. I don't want my business to be disadvantaged in Nevada. When Nevada shows up here, I'm going to go ahead and ding them as well. So it became kind of an arms race. And the argument that was made to state legislatures was, well, they're doing it, so we better hurry up and do it. And now if everybody does it, instead we have something that's administratively burdensome because we'd have to know the state laws of all the states in order to apply this and know when they change. And then also, isn't actually getting best value for the state because we get into these fictions that these gaps widen. So the other thing to consider when we have AB 336 allowing the veteran preference to stack, we are actually widening the possible punishment that they would receive in other states based on the inverse preference. And I should clarify, some states will ding us for just having a Nevada preference, period. The majority that do have an inverse or reciprocal preference are actually dealing with the fact that we affirmatively punish their businesses. So there's kind of a mix, and it's pretty messy.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Carter.
Thank you. Yeah, my question's got to deal with, and it might be out of your area, but we're talking about these preferences and impacts and stuff. Does that affect construction contracts like capital improvement projects and the like?
Homa Sayar for the record. The veteran preference actually for Nevada State Purchasing Act went hand in hand with NRS 338's own preference. In the interim committee, Public Works presented, I won't speak for them, but one thing that they had pointed out was that their projects that do use that preference relate to under a certain dollar threshold, and so they ended up testifying that they actually don't use it very much because most of their projects are larger dollar thresholds. They declined to make any suggestion about changes they would have, but there are preferences in that chapter as well. And 338 is interesting because it applies to all public works, right? Not just as state. So we've also got the local connection.
Committee members, do we have any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation. We will move on to testimony on the bill. Testimony can be provided here in person in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony can be found on the agenda. We will be maintaining a 20-minute time limit today for periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. And we will begin with testimony in support of AB 336 here in Carson City. If anybody would like to testify in, okay. No testimony in support here in Carson City on 336. Next, we will go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of AB 336? Seeing no one. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 336?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 336, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to opposition testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 336? Seeing no one, we will go back to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 336? And AVH, we're back to you if there's anyone on the lines wishing to testify in opposition on this bill.
To testify in opposition for Assembly Bill 336, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 336? Seeing no one approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas who wishes to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 336? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral on the bill?
To testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 336, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenters like to come up to make any final remarks?
Homa Sayar for the record. I neglected to thank Assemblymember Brown May, who had faith in us giving this presentation without her, but she is carrying this on behalf of the interim committee, and we definitely appreciate her, and we appreciate the committee's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Right now, I will close the hearing on AB 336, and we will take a 1-minute recess. Okay, that was the fastest 1 minute in Carson City legislative history. I will now open the bill on Assembly Bill 213, which revises provisions governing public works projects. To present this measure, we have Assembly Member Monroe Moreno, and please go ahead whenever you are ready.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Considine and the members of the committee. For the record, I am Assembly Member Danielle Monroe Moreno. I proudly represent Assembly District 1, which is in Clark County. I will be presenting Assembly Bill 213, which revises provisions governing public works projects. And joining me here at the table today is Mr. Al Lopez from the Sheet Metal Workers Union. With your permission, Chair, we would like to share a short video before we go into the details of the bill, because a picture tells 1,000 words.
Go ahead.
For the record, my name is Alfonso Lopez, and I represent the sheet metal workers, aerial transportation workers, and Local 88 in Southern Nevada. This video really pertains to what this whole bill is about, and it boils down to automation. The automation advancements that have been ongoing for the past 4 decades that I'm aware of have really minimized many man-work hours in these shops. As you'll see in this video, this is just one of the stages of regular square ductwork. It could be either built square or rectangular. It's ordered specifically for how the jobs need it for their particular job site. But like right here where you're seeing, it actually notches it, cuts it, beads it to make it more rigid. These are all steps that in the past guys would take it to particular machines throughout the shop and they would do it themselves. But now technology has unfortunately taken those work hours away from us, and the reality is it's just going to get worse as time goes on. In the foreseeable future, they do show that they want to where you'll be able to just come in and order your stuff and everything's done robotically. But as you see in this video, the steps continue on to where it's prepared. And I will just walk you through it in case you guys do have any questions about what you're seeing here. I'll answer those afterwards, but this video clearly shows everything that this machine do nowadays. And this isn't even this is kind of in the middle of the line when it comes to this technology. There's other ones that are more advanced than this, depending on which production shop you're in. But in the end, it really boils down to the hours that are being saved, the money that's being saved. Even for all the shops throughout Nevada are purchasing now through our shops of automation. And here's where you'll see other steps where, like these 2 pieces I have up here, show different types of fittings, squared arounds, offsets, transitions. It's all implemented into this computer system of cybernation. Once it's implanted in there through the computer, the guy just basically rolls these sheets onto the table, and with this plasma cybernation machine, they burn out the patterns to build these particular pieces. As you'll see here, it's just, these are jobs that guys the older generation would just go to the benches and lay these things out by hand. But now, unfortunately, it's all done through technology. So like you see this guy, he's taking parts away to build these actually are pieces of elbows and squared arounds, offsets. There you'll see the stages that it goes throughout. Again, these are this custom fabrication that deals with going from raw materials of galvanized steel, flat raw material, and we make these different fittings customly made to meet the specifications, again, for whatever the job's needed. Because depending on the job, sometimes there are squares needed, sometimes oval, squared arounds like you see there. Again, these are steps here with the square duct that I would do back in the day on my own, but now we just take it up to a machine and it does everything for you. So everything's packaged up here nice and neat. That way it stays clean for the job site. These jobs come from, again, here you'll see spiral pipe, also the same deal. And these jobs, these pieces that you see in this video are actually kept tracked through a QR code. The people that order the stuff can actually watch the stages that they're at throughout the process from beginning to finish. So again, technology taking away jobs, unfortunately. But that completes the video, and I'll let Danielle continue from here on. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. As you can see from the video, a lot of work that is needed to be done for a work site is actually not done on the job site anymore. It's done in the shop. But those employees that are doing the work for the job site can't take those machines to the site itself. And so sometimes that's a loophole when you talk about prevailing wage. Prevailing wage is critical for ensuring workers are fairly and reasonably compensated. Existing law includes provisions for prevailing wage, but a loophole, as you see on the video, exists for certain specially made fabricated items produced off-site. This bill seeks to close that loophole. Specifically, AB 213 provides that workers who perform custom fabrication on a public work must be paid a prevailing wage. The bill defines custom fabrications as the manufactured, assembled, or other production of any non-standard good or material that is manufactured, assembled, or otherwise produced for a specific public work. It also specifies that non-standard goods or materials includes, without limitation, any non-standard good or material used in the following: air conditioning systems, heating systems, plumbing or pipe fitting, sheet metal or any other sheet metal product, signage, including but not limited to any illuminating or unilluminated sign, and ventilation system. Furthermore, the bill referenced the Tahoe-Douglas Visitors Authority Act, which requires prevailing wage for any product financed or otherwise undertaken by the authority, requiring the employment of certain workers, even if the project does not qualify as a public work. Assembly Bill 213 provides that workers who perform custom fabrication on such projects must also be paid a prevailing wage. We brought this bill forward last legislative session. It passed this body and it passed the Senate, and unfortunately, it was vetoed by the governor. However, it's a very important piece of legislation for the workers in our community. You've seen by the video that a lot of work that was once done on a job site isn't done on a job site anymore. It's done in the shop. And those workers in the shop doing that work deserve to be paid a prevailing wage, just like the workers on the site. That's why it was important for us to bring this bill back again. And with that, we will stand for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Committee members, are there any questions? First question is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know why I'm always first, but does the bill define non-standard? Or asked another way, is non-standard defined?
Al Lopez for the record. What do you exactly mean by non-standard? Are you talking about items that are ordered through catalog or through stores? Is that what you mean by non-standard?
Thank you for the question on the question. I'm referring to in item number 16 under 010, you use the term non-standard goods or material.
Oh, yes.
What do you mean by non-standard? Is
sorry.
non-standard defined?
Once again, Al Lopez for the record. What we're talking about is, like you see in the video, they're non-standard. These are items that start from a flat piece of metal, and they're created through the process of this automation and through the shops. The standard materials that we're referring to, the non-standard, are the stuff that you order through catalogs, through stores, through Home Depots, Lowe's, and so forth. Anything that can be ordered, equipment, any type of material for a prevailing wage job is completely excluded from this bill. This is strictly custom fabrication products that are made from raw materials, period.
Well, I'll take that as an answer. No, non-standard is not defined.
Correct.
Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. No, there is not a definition in the bill of what non-standard is. That's why the video is there. Non-standard, perhaps we should put that, a definition in the bill, things you cannot buy off the shelf at a Home Depot or Lowe's or order in a catalog, things that have to be fabricated specifically for the job to meet that specific would be non-standard. If you'd like to see that in the bill, I'd like you to help me make an amendment to what that could be, but that is what non-standard is.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Karas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing this topic to light. I know for a fact, I've seen it, that more and more gets done in the shop, and some trades pay prevailing wage in the shop and some don't. So this is wonderful that you've brought it to the attention of the legislature. My question is, you mentioned signs. Can you give us an example of, because I would think maybe signs are all done in the shop, so where are you going with the signs?
Alfonso Lopez, for the record, yes, signs are definitely included in this. Actually, for the same purposes. You guys start from raw materials and you create whatever's needed for whatever that customer orders. Nothing that you can buy from a store or catalog. It starts from a raw material, basically doing the same basic process that we do for HVAC products. So they are definitely included in this bill.
Thank you for that answer, because I know in Nevada, we have a lot of signs. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Assemblymember Gallant.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. I'm curious, how would you enforce prevailing wage on non-union shops so that they comply?
Right now, all the non-union open shops throughout southern Nevada and northern Nevada are currently buying from our shops and paying the current rate it is the prevailing wage rate. So the cost savings is already there for everyone because of the reduction in the man hours. So it's made it affordable for everyone to purchase from the union shop. It's been ongoing that I've been aware for well over a decade now. The affordability, it's also because of the efficiency. The productivity, it's all there. It's just a win-win situation for everybody. So it's, like I say, it's been ongoing for well over a decade that I've been aware of, for everyone's been purchasing from these shops because of its productivity.
If you could please state your name for the record.
So, my bad. I'm Alfonso Lopez, for the record, with Sheet Metal Workers.
Thank you.
Follow up, please?
Quick follow-up?
Okay. So if you're saying that the market has already created a situation where non-signatory and signatory companies are already purchasing these non-standard fabrication sheet metals from you already, then what is the purpose in terms of putting it into legislation if it's already occurring naturally?
Once again, Al Lopez, for the record. For that exact point, it's really the legislation here is to codify the law because it's already being in place. So the codification is what the purpose of this bill is, because it's already being done. It actually, the addition is that it keeps Nevada workers being paid with tax dollars as well. So, but like I say, the technology has already surpassed it. So the affordability is there. So it's, once again, it's to codify what's already in place, because right now it's covered off-site, but it's not covered with in-site. And just the production to do it off-site doesn't make any sense for anybody. It'll just drive the costs up. To do it inside a brick and mortar facility, you just show the production and the efficiency, and it's just a money saver for everybody.
Thank you for the presentation. We will now move on to testimony on the bill. Testimony can be provided here in person in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. Again, we will be maintaining a 20-minute time limit for periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Thomas Morley. I represent Laborers Local 872, Laborers Local 169, Teamster 631, and the Communication Workers of America. We're here in support of 213. As a former underground hand, I dealt with prefabbed fire hydrants and RPPAs. RPPAs control the water volume that goes to your subdivisions in Clark County. And if those things aren't torqued right, and I ran into plenty of them when I was in the field installing these, you could seriously injure or possibly kill, because that line is now pressurized And we want safety first, and we believe that this bill would cover some of the issues that the laborers have. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis with Communication Workers of America, Local 9413. Ditto.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Susie Martinez, and I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Nevada State AFL-CIO. And on behalf of over 150,000 members and 120 unions, we strongly support Assembly Bill 213. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ronald Young. I represent IBW Local 357 in Southern Nevada, representing over 4,300 members. We stand in strong support of Assembly Bill 213. Our sign unit, specifically hand prefabs, multiple large signs throughout the valley, and we feel like this bill will help all workers in all sectors get the wages that they deserve. Thank you.
Good morning, committee. Andy Donahue, Labor Employers Cooperation and Education Trust. Glad to join support for this bill today.
Ross Kinson, President of Northern Nevada Central Labor Council, and we are in full support of this bill. It should have been passed last time, and we're hoping that it gets through this time. Thank you.
Ivan Perez, PERZ. Good morning, Committee Chair, members of the committee. I represent Smart Local 26, which represents 450 sheet metal workers in the Reno area. I'm here in support of AB 213, and I urge that you guys do as well. Thank you.
Good morning, committee. For the record, my name is Wendy Colborn. I'm Chief of Staff for the Northern Nevada Building Trades Council. We represent over 6,000 members of the skilled trades in Northern Nevada, and we are also in full support of this bill. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Thomas Blotsky, BLOTZKE. I'm a former apprenticeship coordinator for the Northern Nevada Sheet Metal Workers Apprenticeship. We do a lot of custom fabrication for our union contractors in Northern Nevada. There are several union contractors I think are present here as well. I also was I am a former union contractor, and I also was a former shop person who fabricated and built a lot of these products that we're talking about, and it created a lot of work for our members and membership. I'm also, starting April 1, going to be the business manager for the Sheet Metal Workers Local 26, and I fully support this. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support of the bill? Seeing no one, and seeing that there are people in Las Vegas in support of Assembly Bill 213, please start when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Vince Saavedra, for the record. Vince, V-I-N-C-E-N-T. That, I know it's Vincent, actually. Government name. Saavedra, S-A-A-V-E-D-R-A. And I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer to the Southern Nevada Building and Construction Trade Unions. About this bill, prevailing wage, right? It's the tide that lifts all boats, whether they are signatory, well-built boats or non-signatory boats. And I'll just leave it at that. This helps workers. This helps the community. Prevailing wage is the wage that prevails in each county. That is the area standard. We believe that everyone should get paid the area standard in the county that they work for, are in. Thank you. We strongly support this bill.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jeremiah Robnett, R-O-B-N-E-T-T. I'm the business manager of Smart Local 88. I'm here in support of SB 213. This bill will help working families across Nevada by evening the playing field for all bidders of the public works projects, while also ensuring that the workforce who perform the custom fabrication on the public works are paid the same prevailing wage in the region as a workforce installing that same custom fabrication on site. By evening the playing field for all bids using the same prevailing rate, this bill would also not allow any out-of-state contractor attempt to undercut our market and send Nevada tax dollars back to their states without affording Nevada workforce an opportunity to work on the projects that they fund. With an unemployment rate here in Nevada of 5.7% currently, the highest in the United States, this bill will help keep Nevada jobs for the Nevada working families.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ron Spiegel, S-P-E-I-G-L-E. I'm the business representative for Smart Local 88 here in Las Vegas. SB 213 will eliminate a loophole that out-of-state contractors can use to undercut the wages and standards of our local workforce. On behalf of the members of Smart Local 88, I encourage you to support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and a member of the Assembly. My name is Jesus Loya. I'm the business manager for the Roofers and Waterproofers Local 162. I'm here in strong support of AB 213 because it's a critical measure to ensure fairness, protect workers, and maintain integrity in our public construction projects. This bill helps close the loopholes that allows all off-site fabrication and undercuts prevailing wages. Ensure that all workers contributing to public projects are compensated fairly. It supports local contractors who invest in skilled labor and workforce development, creating high-quality jobs and that strengthens our economy. By passing AB 213, we uphold standards that make Nevada's construction industry competitive, safe, and sustainable. I urge you to support this bill and protect workers, level the playing field for the responsible contractors, and reinforce long-term stability in our industry. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and persons, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kim Renee, President of Nevada SAG-AFTRA. I strongly urge you to support Bill AB 213. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee and Chair. My name is Robert Diaz, D-I-A-Z. I represent the sheet metal workers of Smart Local 88, representing nearly 1,400 working families here in Southern Nevada. I urge your committee to support this bill. As a rank and file member, I spent nearly a decade working in the shops we're describing here today. Driving by those projects funded by tax dollars, not only then, but as well as now, we noticed that out-of-state contractor license plates, as well as underqualified contractors on these projects, was devastating, seeing that we are the prevailing rate as described by everybody else ahead of us. The legislature has established that prevailing wage, is the area standard and good for the state as well as the communities it supports. We urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Assembly members. My name is Chase Hoskins. I'm one of the business agents with Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, Local 525 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I represent almost 2,300 members and working families. And much like the Sheet Metal Worker Union, technology has exploited workers in my industry as well. And instead of prefabricated duct, we see them come out as modules. We'll see a whole central plant come out in 2 modules that are built off-site by unrepresented and exploited workers, out-of-state workers. And we strongly urge you guys to pass this bill and elevate these workers as well.
Good morning, Chair, members, and committee. My name is Willie Solorzano, S-O-L-O-R-Z-A-N-O, and I'm with Smart International, and I support SB 213 for the protection of evil pride Nevadans. As an international representative, I have the fortune to see the benefits similar to bills have provided for other jurisdictions around the country. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and distinguished Assembly members. My name is Luke Brand, District Representative of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 12. I'm also here speaking as a Nevada State resident today. We're here to urge all legislators involved to help approve Assembly Bill 213. The passage of this bill will help secure a strong financial economy for all residents here in the state of Nevada. Collectively, as your constituents, we are the people who elected you. Please let our voices be heard. Again, please consider supporting this crucial Assembly bill. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to support testimony, provide support testimony for AB 213? Seeing none, AVH, is there anyone on the lines in support?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 213, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Maria Teresa Hank, MARIA-TERESA-HANK, and I am a union member and shop steward for TWU Local 556, and I strongly urge the committee to support AB 213. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Liz Sorensen with the Nevada State AFL-CIO. That's L-I-Z, last name S-O-R-E-N-S-O-N. I am in strong support of AB 213, and I urge this committee to do so as well. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Thomas Bird. I'm a longtime union member and a local IBW 1245. I'm strongly in favor of this legislation, AB 213, and hopefully this passes with flying colors.
Caller with the last 3 digits 909. You are unmuted on our end. Please go ahead. Caller with the last 3 digits 909. Please make sure that you are unmuted on your end. You are unmuted on our end.
Yes, this is Frederick Viznicki, Business Agent, Iron Workers, Local 433, Las Vegas, Nevada. We are in strong support of Bill AB 213. Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits 517. You are unmuted on our end. Please go ahead.
Yes, good morning. My name is Danny Thompson, Thompson. I'm testifying today on behalf of Operating Engineers 312, Laborers 872, IBW 396, and 1245. Really, this bill is a lot more than just a union bill, because it really isn't. My previous job in 2015, 2016, we started studying the impacts of artificial intelligence and, the advancements in quantum computing and robotics that were taking place. And at that time, the predictions were absolutely frightening. And if you fast forward to today, almost 10 years later, exactly 10 years later, it's more frightening today because it's become a reality. Quantum computing and artificial intelligence are so advanced now, and I think back to those predictions that those futurists made in these seminars that I attended, and they're all coming true. And so this bill is only going to be the beginning of protections for all workers, not just union workers, but every worker in America is going to have some kind of protection. The futurist that I attended and talked to about, what will people do for jobs? They said at the time, again, this was 2015, that maybe the government is going to have to pay everyone a minimum wage to stay home. Or you could solve your problem by buying yourself a robot. And literally today, that wouldn't be a bad investment. In fact, there's a lot of people investing in robotics. And so really, this bill really is only the start of what I see as protections against artificial intelligence and robotics, because if you add them all together, there's not going to be a lot of jobs. There won't be enough jobs in America to go around for all the workers that we have. So we urge your support of this bill. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Mickey Grizzle. I'm union member of the National Association of Letter Carriers 2778, as well as the president of the Nevada State Association, and I would strongly urge the committee to support AB 213.
Hey, good morning, Chair and members of the committee. This is Gabe Christensen, CHRISTENSON. I'm a member of Smart TD 1043 and also the Nevada State Legislative Director for Smart. We ask you to support AB 213. This bill would protect fair wages for everyone who works on these jobs. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Russ James, RUSSJAMES. I'm with the Nevada State AFL. I am in support of AB 213, and I'm urging the committee to support it as well. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will now move on to opposition testimony. If you would like to provide opposition testimony to AB 213 in Carson City, please approach the table. We will continue to maintain the 20-minute time limit that we spoke about earlier. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Considine, members of the committee. My name is Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors and representing the Nevada Association of Mechanical Contractors, representing both signatory and open shop construction companies in Northern Nevada. I want to start by saying that we have always supported prevailing wage and, in fact, were instrumental in preventing its repeal in 2015. But we feel arbitrary expansions are unnecessary and costly, and to us, this is exactly what this is. Our members who will be impacted by this bill fabricate systems for both public and private owners. It is not the prevailing wage rate that is the problem, it is the cost of compliance. Most times, employees in the shop are not aware of the installation location of the parts they are building. This bill would require the individual tracking of all parts and pieces used in the fabrication from their place of origin to the final destination in order to comply with certified payroll. This would present challenges that are not easily overcome and could result in the loss of local jobs. While some may think the cost of compliance is just part of the cost of doing business, every cost borne by a business owner, especially small local businesses, can have a profound impact. These owners take a risk every time they bid on a project that they will be competitive and win so they can keep their doors open, their lights on, and their employees employed. I have members here that can speak more directly to these challenges and the impact this bill will have on their businesses. But first, I'd like to also point out that this bill could limit workforce development. The entry-level position for people beginning their careers in HVAC and plumbing is as a helper. Helpers are specifically prohibited from working on prevailing wage jobs. A contractor's use of helpers provides the training necessary as a pre-apprenticeship. The process familiarizes an employee with the requirements of the craft and ensures they are a good fit. There are already tremendous workforce challenges for a variety of reasons. This bill would only compound the problem. We ask that you please not process this bill in order to protect Nevada businesses and Nevada workers.
Good morning. My name is Robert Sandoval. I'm Vice President at RHP Mechanical Systems in Reno, Nevada, where we are a full-service mechanical contractor with both sheet metal and plumbing piping fabrication shops and have been proudly serving Northern Nevada for 75 years. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you this morning. I would like to express my concerns with AB 213 and the potential impacts to our business if this bill were to pass. To clarify, this is not an issue of employee pay for us. It is entirely a concern related to record keeping and reporting. We are a signatory contractor signed to 3 different contracts between the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters and Sheet Metal Workers Union. Our shop journey person fabricators are all paid at or above building trades rate, which exceeds the current prevailing wage rate for each trade. If approved as written, this bill would require us to hire additional office administrative staff to manage the expanded record keeping and reporting. Furthermore, it would disrupt our fabrication operations and affect our overall workflow and sequencing. Currently, our fabricators work on multiple projects at one time, both public and private. If AB 213 is implemented, this multitasking would no longer be feasible due to the certified payroll and apprenticeship utilization tracking and reporting that is required per individual project. The flexibility to produce fabricated assemblies for multiple projects at once is a major efficiency gain for us and our clients, which would now be impacted. Additionally, we currently employ shop helpers or pre-apprentices for material handling, shipping, receiving, and logistics. Under the proposed bill, this would no longer be permitted, forcing us to assign these tasks to journey person or fully indentured apprentices, which would increase our shop crew rates. All of these changes would result in added cost, which would ultimately be passed on to the end user, and in this case, the public entity. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that you do not approve this bill as presented. Thank you.
Good morning, Sean Bingham, Mount Rose Heating and Air Conditioning Vice President. We oppose AB 213. This is not a wage issue. This is us having to handle more paperwork, more regulation, and ultimately the non-union contractors will not comply. I've seen it, most of them, as I know them, do not even understand what NRS 338 means. So now you're putting the burden on an already over-regulated industry having to comply with more law and regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Mac Bybee with the Associated Builders and Contractors of Nevada. I'm not going to repeat what the 2 contractors just said. We share their concerns as far as being able to comply or even compliance by a labor commissioner on 338, trying to determine what parts went to a public work and which parts didn't. Not all these parts are bought through union shops. Some are, for sure. Some are fabricated on site. Some are fabricated by hand. Some are fabricated on a job site. And to speak to what is a standard material, every piece of metal work starts as a raw material, whether it's in Home Depot or if it's fabricated in a shop or if it's automated or done by hand. So it is an ambiguous term that could apply to just about anything that is fabricated by a piece of sheet metal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Constantine, members of the committee. Warren Hardy today representing the Urban Consortium. First, I want to thank the sponsor who is, we've worked on this for a couple of sessions. She's always very willing to sit down and work with us and try to find resolution, as are the supporters, Mr. Lopez and his team. We always appreciate their willingness to work. The cities have, like everybody else, no problem with prevailing wage. Our challenge is the compliance. We have staff dedicated to making sure that contractors who work on public works projects are in compliance with prevailing wage. The cost of this additional compliance was addressed. I can't even get to the cost. I don't know how logistically we can even enforce this as cities. I don't even know where to start. If we had all the money in the world to do it, I still don't know how we could comply with this. The challenge results, and just so the committee understands, when you do fabrication on the side of a project of a public works, that requires prevailing wage. If you set up a shop off-site that works exclusively on manufacturing for that job site, that requires prevailing wage. Those things can be tracked. The difficulty arises when you have a shop that does off-site fabrication for both public work and private work. Now the individual who runs that shop has got to figure out how to determine which hours go to the private sector, which go to the public sector, and often they're creating the same type of thing. It's a logistical nightmare. And if a complaint is lodged, we really don't know how we can go in and make that determination. It gets even worse when we talk about out of state. We have no jurisdiction over out of state suppliers. So if these are being provided by out of state suppliers, we don't have any authority to go in and try to determine whether prevailing wage was paid. So our problem here is not with prevailing wage. We work hard to make sure it's complied with. We just don't know how to do it. And I would just add one last thing. One of the things we struggle with as local governments when the economy is good is getting contractors to bid public works. It's something we're working with a lot of the local governments on. This is an additional level of responsibility and concern for businesses that might otherwise bid public works. So we'd appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we'll continue to work to try to find resolution. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. For the record, Miranda Hoover with 3C House, representing the National Electrical Contractors Association, Northern Nevada Division, and we echo all of the comments made before us in opposition. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Paul Morak from the Vegas Chamber. We are also in opposition to AB 213. We do appreciate the proponents' conversations with the Chamber and understand our own ongoing concerns, and we reiterate those concerns that you just heard previously. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. My name is Jay Parmer, Jayparmer. I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Association of Manufacturers. The Nevada Association of Manufacturers promotes an environment that fosters economic opportunity for employers, as well as good jobs and good benefits for Nevadans. The reason we're speaking in opposition to the bill today is that some of the language in the bill goes far beyond the example you saw this morning regarding sheet metal fabrication. In fact, if you look at Section 1, subsection 17 of the bill, it speaks to non-standard goods and materials and includes plumbing, ventilation systems, air conditioning systems, heating systems, signs, all types of signs, as well as sheet metal. So I can offer you a scenario where a number of these items, particularly these systems, are assembled in Nevada, but parts and components of that come from all sorts of different other places. Additionally, not all of these units are custom to a site, a job. They can be based on the load, the capacity that's required. There could be units that were built and inventoried that are available that would subsequently be moved to the shop, to the site, and that could create a compliance and record-keeping issue and would result in manufacturers having a inadvertent or unintentional non-compliance with the new statutes. So we would like to get some additional clarification on the meaning of some of the definitions in the bill and see if there's something that would address our concerns on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 213 here in Carson City? Seeing no one, we'll move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 213?
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. For the record, Ann Barnett, CEO of the Nevada Contractors Association, serving the Southern Nevada construction industry. NCA has always supported paying workers prevailing wage for work performed on public works projects. As it was mentioned back in 2015, when statutes requiring prevailing wage were removed for certain public works, NCA worked in a bipartisan fashion to bring it back. The challenge with AB 213, similar to AB 235 from the 2023 legislative session, is that it requires prevailing wage for permanent facilities that perform custom fabrication for products that are used in both private and public construction. If the facility is dedicated to specifically to a public work, NCA supports prevailing wage, but AB 213 would expand that, as mentioned, burdening the contractors with logistical challenges, the interstate challenges, and administrative challenges overall. And for these reasons, NCA is opposed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 213? Seeing no one, AVH, can we go to the lines for testimony in opposition?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 213, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, please press star 9 to testify in opposition.
Chair and members of the committee, it is a pleasure to be before you today. For the record, my name is Mandy Wilkins, representing exclusively signatory contractors belonging to the Mechanical Contractors Association of Las Vegas, or MCA, and sheet metal and air conditioning contractors of Southern Nevada, or SMACNA, as their executive vice president. The contractors belonging to these two associations perform plumbing, pipe fitting, and sheet metal work. Specifically, the contractors belonging to SMACNA of Southern Nevada are the sole hiring source for Smart Local 88's union members. I am here before you today in opposition of Assembly Bill 213. We also opposed the same legislation in 2023. I suppose it is for this reason that we find the resurrection of this bill by our labor partner, with no attempt in the interim to communicate with us, as being, well, frankly, tone deaf. I'm going to briefly describe through a basic but ideally helpful illustration of the overarching issue this bill creates. First, there are different prevailing wage rates across the state. So if I have a fabrication shop in Southern Nevada, and I have, for lack of better words, an assembly line of ductwork in various phases coming through the line, and the first piece is for an airport in Reno. The second piece is for a school in Ely. The third piece is for a county building in Clark. These all have different wage rates. Then imagine the next 7 pieces are for various private work projects. Employee 1 touches each piece approximately 4 minutes. Worker 2 only touches every other piece for anywhere between 5 and 12 minutes. The employee operating the machine isn't physically touching any of the pieces. He is operating the machine working on all of the pieces. The reason this has not been done before is because it is an administrative burden that cannot be overcome. Short of the contractors who fabricate literally setting up separate facilities for private and public works, respectively. This is cost prohibitive. Furthermore, this bill, as stated by others, is not enforceable. Again, please reference the example I just gave, and is therefore ripe for cheating, which will adversely impact the contractors belonging to MCA and SMACNA, who are signatory, and continue to erode their competitive advantage in the market. Again, these are the contractors who are already paying the highest wages and benefits for the work specified in this bill. Just to give you a quick example, right now the current prevailing wage rate in Clark County. Caller, if you could please wrap it up. Your time has been exceeded. If you could please wrap it up. Absolutely. Thank you. We just please implore you to, in this body, to oppose Assembly Bill 213. Thank you.
If you recently joined the call and would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 213, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no additional callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to testimony in neutral on this bill. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 213? Seeing no one approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 213? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 213, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. If the presenter would like to come up for any final remarks.
For the record, Madam Chair, committee members, again, my name is Alfonso Lopez. I represent the sheet metal workers, rail transportation workers of Local 88. Currently, Nevada leads the nation with an unemployment rate of 5.7 in the range of 5.7%. Supporting this legislation assures that Nevada tax dollars creates job opportunities for a Nevada workforce, a workforce that keeps our state's local economy moving forward. Nevada tax dollars should only be used to benefit Nevada residents, businesses, and communities throughout the entire state. Thank you for your time and consideration for this AB 213, and thank you very much.
Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for allowing us to present the bill. And thank you to all the supporters that spoke in support, but also thank you to the opposition. I was once a small business owner, and I understand the challenges of running a small business and the small profit line, if there is any profit. But my business was in catering, not in construction at all. But there were times when we had 2 or 3 different jobs, one in Las Vegas, one in Henderson, one in North Las Vegas. Every city has its own guidelines for catering and things. When I went shopping for all 3 jobs, right? But I was able to determine the cost for the food for each job. When I had to hire staff to work for those jobs, I knew that I hired a staff just for the job in Henderson or the one in Las Vegas and paid them accordingly for the contract that I had with the client for that job. I understand that this, as in most legislation that comes out of this body, puts other regulations that were not there before on business owners, on workers, on organizations. This bill will too. That's what we do here. But as I said, this bill is about workers. It's about being paid a fair wage. And for those contractors who said they're paying above prevailing wage, I applaud them for doing that. That is amazing. But that's not every contractor. That's not every job site, right? Our workers deserve to be paid a fair, livable wage for all the work that they perform, whether it's on the work site or in the workshop, whether it's assembling that fabrication on the work site or in the workshop. It's keeping Nevada workers paid. It's buying local from Nevadans and not out of state. It's not in a catalog that's being shipped in. We're taking care of Nevada workers. You've heard from the contractors, and you've heard from Mr. Lopez. Our unemployment rates are higher than other places in America right now. Anything that we can do to help both our workers and our businesses, we should be doing that. And I truly believe that this is a bill that can do that. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 213, and we'll move to the last item on our agenda, which is public comment. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 864-7150-4030, then press pound when prompted for participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. You may also submit written public comment to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there any public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none, we will move to Las Vegas. Is there any public comment in Las Vegas? Seeing no one. AVH, is there any public comment on the phone lines?
To provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for public comment at this time.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be Friday, March 14th at 8 a.m. in room 3143. That concludes our meeting for the day. Meeting is adjourned.